Hello, doctor. Our research topic is a narrative analysis of infidelity post in marriage, a case study based on Labov structure. And our group members are SHAO YUFEI, YAIJIA, HUANG, and LONGFEI. I will introduce our research. Introduction. For the research background, marital infidelity is a complex social phenomenon intertwined with ethics, emotions, and psychology. In contemporary society, the emergence of social media platforms such as Quora has provided individuals with spaces to share their personal narratives and reflections on this sensitive topic. These narratives serve as rich linguistic resources, construct moral judgments, and negotiate emotional crises within specific socio-cultural contexts. They offer insights into how language is used to express attitudes and influence decision-making. And for the significance, this study uses a mixed method, including quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis, by employing Labov's narrative structure and the prospect theory. This study examines how linguistic choices in user narratives reflect underlying attitudes and their decision-making process related to marital infidelity. Based on the above, we hope this study can enhance our understanding of language use in emotionally charged discourse and contribute to the broader fields of sociolinguistics and discourse studies. And for our research objectives, first, we aim to analyze the linguistic differences in expressing attitudes towards marital infidelity in the evaluation sections of divorced and non-divorced groups. And second, we aim to explore the differences in decision-making logic in the resolution sections of narratives from divorced and non-divorced group. For our research questions, first, what are the linguistic differences in expressing attitudes toward marital infidelity in the evaluation sections of divorced and non-divorced groups? And second, how does the decision-making logic differ linguistically in the resolution sections of narratives from divorced and non-divorced groups?
Now let's take a look at the literature review. First, we applied Labov's narrative structure model. It is a fundamental theory in narrative analysis, which identified key components in the structure of a narrative, as we have learned. This model highlights the dynamic and evaluative nature of personal stories, especially in the complicating action and resolution section. For divorced and non-divorced groups, this model can be instrumental in understanding how each group tells stories and review how infidelity is understood and processed based on their relationship status. Psychological mechanisms also play a key role in shaping the attitudes towards infidelity and decision-making. It suggests that individuals may experience a range of emotional responses, such as betrayal, anger, tolerance, depending on the personal, social, and cultural context. Furthermore, evaluative narratives also reflect the personal and cultural value system that guides moral judgment. Last but not least, we have decision-making logic in narrative resolution. It emphasizes that the resolution should align with the story's core themes and messages. The decision-making section often involves individuals evaluating consequences, making decisions, and adjusting emotional responses around the issues raised by infidelity. For example, there's prospect theory to analyze the divorce decision and the risk, focusing on the weighing of gains and losses. The study employed a systematic approach to select posts on Quora related to the marital infidelity. To ensure the data's representativeness, we select posts with following steps. Firstly, we conduct a keyword such as marital infidelity and cheating to identify potentially suitable posts, focusing on two groups, the divorced and the non-divorced group, which means those who experienced infidelity and the divorced and who remained in the marriage. From this, we chose posts that adhere to Labov's narrative structure and patronized posts with higher level of engagement, like the higher number of likes and comments. In data analysis section, firstly, we applied Labov's model to identify key complements. In the evaluation section, we use the NLTK to segment words and use the NRC emotion lexicon to extract emotional related keywords. Then we analyze word frequency and put them in charts. In the resolution, categorize decision-making logic and examine the psychological motives behind these decisions. Then we combine quantitative, which is word frequency, and qualitative methods, which is narrative analysis. We combine them together to gain a better understanding.
Okay, so we will come to the data analysis. In this part, we will respond our research question. What are the linguistic differences in expressing attitude toward marital infidelity between divorced and no divorce group? Using NLTK important and NRC emotion lexicon for our analysis, we can extract emotion-related keywords. Then we can form a new chart. So you can look at the right chart on the screen. Our emotional analysis clearly shows 4 key differences. Then I will explain them one by one. The first of all is the emotional response intensity and types. So we can see striking differences in the distribution of negative emotion. The red bars representing the divorce group consistently reach higher values across negative emotional categories, particularly in anger and sadness, while both groups express very strong negative emotions. Notice how the blue bars representing the no divorce group show more moderate heights and, importantly, have notable high values in the positive emotion categories on the right side of this chart, just like forgiveness and calmness. Then we will come to another part, moral judgment characteristics. We can observe the stark contrast in language pattern. The divorce group's anger-related vocabulary shows a peak, reaching nearly 80% in frequency of use compared to the other emotional expressions. In contrast, the no divorce group distributions show a more balanced pattern with forgiveness-related term and kindness-related terms appearing like it 2 or 3 times more frequently than in the divorce group's response. So moving to the third part, which displays our emotional regulation capacity analysis, we can see a fascinating pattern. The divorce group's light shows sharp peaks and valleys indicating rapid emotional shifts, while the no divorce group's light maintaining a more stable trend even when discussing this kind of incidents. This stability is particularly evident in the forgiveness-related language sections, where we can see consistent patterns of constructive emotional expression. Then we will make some explanation in emotional foundation of marital choices. The data indicates that the emotional processing capability may be the key factor influencing the final marital decision. The divorce group shows high concentration of negative emotion and low forgiveness level may create difficulties in relationship repair, while the non-divorce group illustrates high levels of forgiveness and emotional balance provide an emotional foundation for maintaining marriage. So to conclude, this visual analysis clearly demonstrate that emotional responses and moral judgments toward marital infidelity as expressed through language are closely tied to final marital decisions. The non-divorce gives forgiving language patterns stand in marked contrast to the divorce gives intense negative expressions and sticky moral judgments. These differences not only reflect varying approaches to handling marital crisis, but also highlight the crucial role of emotional regulation in maintaining marriage.
So this part of data analysis aims to answer a very simple question, which is what are the differences in the decision-making logic reflected in the narrative resolution section between the divorce and non-divorce group? And we can see in this picture, we separate the posts on the Cura from Labov's framework, and we analyze according to the prospect theory from the previous researches. So now came to the results part. First, this pie chart shows a very direct comparison between the two groups focused on the emotional regulation and conflict resolution. From the non-divorce group, when faced with infidelity, many of them demonstrate very strong emotional regulation, such as forgiveness. And in the resolution part, they describe the process of finding a balance through very complex communication. But for the divorced group, many of the individuals often express strong conflict resolution feelings with strong feelings of disappointment, as mentioned in the previous result. And in the resolution part, their decisive actions are quite common. They just say we're going to divorce. And for the risk assessment on decision-making part, for the non-divorce group, they may focus on the long-term benefits such as family stability, children, social status, and majority in this group, about 90 to 95%, demonstrate a very interesting method of loss minimization. And in the resolution part, they reckon that divorce might result in greater economic and emotional losses. But for the divorced group, on the other hand, they focus on the emotional cost of staying in the marriage, such as long-term emotional detachment and the traumatizing experience, and believe that those costs are quite intolerable. So the divorce for them is the best way to reveal or recover themselves despite the unknown risks. So divorce is kind of the optimal choice. When it comes to the emotional motivation and consideration of risks, for the non-divorced group, they tend to show very strong emotional attachment driven by their concern for the children. And they may also emphasize the social and economic benefits of marriage, such as, the shared financial security, social status, and family obligation. So their decision-making process is rather complex compared with the divorced group, involving many forgiveness and long-term concern for stability. For the divorce group, and we can see that they focus more on the emotional self-protection and the recovery. They are more likely to focus on the emotional well-being and their quality of their own life, like the freedom, peace after divorce. And this comes to the final decision part. For the non-divorce group, their narrative usually ends with repair and emotional recovery, and despite the infidelity, they opt to continue to rebuilding relationship, and that process involving trust recovery and compromising, lots of compromising. So they tend to focus on the family responsibility, as mentioned before, like children, social status, after waiting the long-term benefits. And for the divorce group, decisions of divorce is seen as a starting point for self-recovery. The word self is mentioned multiple times, and freedom. So their decision-making logic emphasizes the emotional self-protection, freedom, and recovery, and starting an independent life is the best choice for them.
Now I will introduce our conclusion part. This study answers the research questions with the following findings. First, divorced and non-divorced individuals use different language to express emotions in evaluation parts. Divorced individuals show strong negative emotions like sadness and anger, and make stricter moral judgments. Non-divorced individuals show more balanced emotions, including forgiveness and calmness, showing better emotional control. And second, their decision-making in resolution narratives shows different priorities. Divorced individuals prioritize self-recovery and emotional relief. Divorce is seen as a way to gain personal freedom and emotional well-being, while non-divorced individuals focus on reconciliation and long-term stability. These findings show how emotional regulation and moral reasoning influence responses to marital infidelity. They reveal the connection between language, emotions, and decision-making during personal crisis. This research tries to make a small contribution to societal linguistics and discourse analysis by showing how language reflects emotions and social roles in real-life situations. And here are our limitations. First, the study relies on a small dataset from Quora, limiting the generalizability of the findings. Future research should use larger and more diverse dataset to improve representativeness. And second, cultural and societal factors influencing emotional expression and decision-making were not considered. So future research could also explore these influences to provide more insights to it. And that's all for our presentation. Thank you.